with a gentleman who I had the opportunity to meet. I'm not even sure how many years ago it was. 5 years ago, through Ambrook Chapter 7. I came to the organization truly through a fluke, and partially because of my closeted desire to get my motorcycle learner's permit. And my desire to, and our community's commitment to the veterans community. Dennis Wood was one of the first individuals who I got the opportunity to meet. He and Keith Muke were very much mentors for me regarding the needs of veterans in the veterans community. Sergeant Major Estrada has already alluded to the importance not only of saying welcome home and thank you for the work that and the service that these men and women have offered, but it's also important to acknowledge the work they have done after they have come out of active duty. And Sergeant Major, I hope that you will permit me to say that even though that at the moment you and Dennis and other veterans are not necessarily wearing the uniform, I am personally convinced that all who have served and all who have worn the uniform remain committed to active duty even when they return home to their families. Dennis has been a mentor, has been a counselor, and despite illness, despite all sorts of things that most people would say, I'm going to be worried more about myself than anything else. It is when Dennis has been dealing with more health issues, personal health issues, that he has become more and more dedicated to the needs of others. And to further elaborate on all that Dennis has done.
I am also a veteran of Vietnam. I was wounded 2 times, and Dennis and I have shared many stories and sort of helped each other through many years. I've known him for 30 years. I'm a young man. He's much younger than me. I first met Dennis. We had both the same desire to start a business, and we were both in sailing. And we found a boat that we could repair for a gentleman. And I met Dennis, and at first I was sort of taken back by his abrupt, abrasive, tough, large size, and you know, you judge a book by the cover and you never really get what's really inside of it. Okay.
Still reading it.
And I'm still reading it. He surprised me. We spent many hours working on a boat, and he almost threw me off the boat a couple of times. But I got to really know the inner soul of this person. He always had time to counsel, whether you wanted it or not. He would counsel me and say, oh no, you're doing this wrong, you got to do this. He knew everything about everything. I got to rely on him. If I had a problem, I would just call Dennis, solve it for me. It was quite interesting that he wasn't doing it just for me. If someone had a car problem, in the middle of the night, he'd drive to Chicago, he'd fix somebody's car, he would tow somebody's car, he'd get somebody a car. He would, if someone, he was a bartender, if someone needed work, he would do 2 jobs. If someone got called off sick, he would volunteer, he would make sure he got there, he took care of things. He was always a problem solver. And I found out that, you know, he knew what he was talking about. He really researches everything that he goes into. He had some illnesses that he's been dealing with, and he knew as much about his illnesses as the doctor, and told him exactly what was going to go on, and brought things to light. And the doctor and he got talking together, and brought in other doctors saying, you got to talk to this guy. Look at this is what he knows. You know? So in this time that he's been taking care of other people, and in his time of illness at this time, he still finds time to spend hours on the computer. He's doing things at home now, much more than he's outside. Working with the American Veterans Motorcycle Association, Chapter 7, which I believe is Keith? Yes. And how you got to know Dennis. Illinois Freedom Ride. Should have made my type bigger, and it's a little darker here. So I'm looking really close. Once you said that, I went, I'm sunk. The Chicago Toys for Tots, Mantino, VFW, the Veterans Home Ride, the Eden Veterans Project from New York, which is a new project that Dennis is now getting involved with. The local 63rd Dads for Diabetes Project, the VFW Post 2868, the VFW Riders National Organization, and the Riverside Brookfield High School Veterans Day Celebration. He's been doing that since '04. Today we're honoring him, and he's being honored, but there's another honorable day that we need to recognize Dennis for. It's his birthday. It's his 60th birthday. So with that, I will welcome Dennis up.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Daddy. You gotta do it this way. Happy birthday to you. Let me put my pants down. Well, I've known the bishop for 5 years. He dealt with a good friend of mine who's dead. I met the bishop when I put him in the ground. We grew up together. He started this. American Veterans, Chapter 7 here in Illinois. It's a meaningful participation, you might say, to be honored tonight, but also be honored by the veterans that I now serve who I never served with. Sarge, welcome home. I don't care if that man is an Army, a Marine, an Air Force, whatever. We don't care. Us veterans don't care what branch of the service you were in, as long as you're a vet. And that's our ambition in life, is to make your life better. The people who come home in pieces, or the people who came home. We don't want the people to come home like we did during Vietnam. We want to give that help. Tom and the bishop spoke of a little handicap I have. But today is a special day. Besides being my 60th birthday, being honored here tonight by you, tonight is exactly the 28th month that I looked at death for the 3rd time in my life and said, there ain't no way. I had a 1 in 5 chance of getting out of the wheelchair. The doctors told the day of the accident, I'm an iron worker. The day of the accident, the doctors told my wife and my 2 co-workers, which I pulled them into the trauma room, to let me know what's going on too. You know, I'm the guy reporting. That they have no idea why I am alive. I had a 3,100 pound steel frame wall come down on top of me and crush my complete right side. It took my foot off without cutting the skin and shoved it halfway up my leg. So it took a little bit of time to get back on the feet again. So today is 28 months, and this is the best I'm going to get. I'm 60 years old, and yeah, just take another pill in the morning. That's the way you get out. Hit the snooze alarm a couple times and take the narco, and you'll be feeling better. But I've done a lot of things in my life. I credit the gentleman who introduced me tonight for changing me around. In 1969, during the Vietnam War, I experienced some stuff that'll stick with me forever. And that man brought me back to a whole person. And I thank you. And before I finish, they said Humpty Dumpty fell off a wall, and all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put him back together. But guess what? That's a lie. Wife, stand up. That's my wife, Diane. You deserve this more than I do for bringing me back to life. And on a last note, all of us veterans stick together in one way, shape, or form. And the bishop has taken his life. And basically when you guys retire, you should call yourself veterans too. Look at what you got to put up with. Every VFW post, the Sarge can vouch for this. During battles, you're given a challenge coin. It means you were there. Post 2868 is the home of AVMA 7. We help a lot of vets. We do I organize the poppy runs. We went from $300 a year. Last year we topped out at almost $4,000. I'm bringing home, with the help of the officers and crew of 2868, 50 guys from Great Lakes that they don't have a home right now, but the post will give them a beautiful dinner for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So we do a lot of things for a lot of people, and we don't want any thanks. We don't need it. Our thanks comes from within. But on that note, Post 2868 in Brookfield just celebrated its 75th birthday. And in that 75th birthday, there's a plaque on the wall of all the commanders, the vice commanders, men's and women's auxiliary, of all these gracious people who didn't think of themselves and thought first of the vets and the community. So they issued a coin, beautiful coin. It's got the VFW symbol that was created back in World War I. And on the back, it's got the village of Brookfield. It's all embossed. And these are kind of like sacred coins because they don't go to anybody. They go to veterans. This guy's my vet. I've got to do one other thing, otherwise I'm going to get killed here. I really am. I honored my veteran here, my veteran there, but I'm a local 63 union iron worker, and I got to acknowledge these roofers over here, because without them, we'd be leaking like crazy. They're a great bunch of guys to work with. And I've worked with some of their people on some of the tallest buildings in this city. I've been on the tallest. And when you're a high iron wiring worker, the first thing you do in the morning when you go up and you check your rig to make sure you're clean. Clean means everything's fine. Some people just check it. I do something a little bit different. Keep my hard hat on, tap it, put my hand up, and I shake the hand of God and say, give me a good day so I can go back to my wife. I'm still here. Please send a report card. I want to see what's about. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, before you go home,